The visual is not important here. The music is not important here. The voice is not important here. What matters are the words. If you cannot listen to the words, you do not belong here. If you understand this, welcome to the Fate Club. Dreams are not random images created by a resting brain. They are structured experiences that occur when attention detaches from the physical sensory field and relocates into another layer of perception. During sleep, the body remains in three-dimensional space while consciousness disengages from its biological anchor and shifts into fourth-dimensional and higher informational environments. This shift does not require intention, belief, or training. It happens naturally every night to nearly every human being, whether it is remembered or not. The physical body enters a state of paralysis not only for rest, but to prevent interference while consciousness is elsewhere. Muscles are disconnected from voluntary control because awareness is no longer operating within the physical coordinate system. Breathing continues. The heart continues. The nervous system maintains baseline functions. But the observing point is no longer localized inside the skull. It is relocated into a non-physical field where form behaves differently and time does not move in a linear direction. This is the space in which dreams occur, not as symbols, not as metaphors, but as direct experiences that are imperfectly translated back into neural language upon return. In this state, perception is no longer filtered through the limitations of three-dimensional matter. Distance collapses. Identity becomes fluid. Environments respond to thought without delay. Communication does not rely on sound or language, but on direct informational transfer. This is why dreams often feel more real than waking life, even when they appear illogical afterward. The logic operating there is not three-dimensional logic. Most humans forget their dreams not because nothing happened, but because memory transfer between dimensional layers was deliberately restricted. For a long time, this restriction was necessary for maintaining stability within the three-dimensional operating system. Human consciousness functioning fully in higher dimensions while anchored in dense physical reality would have destabilized identity, behavior, and social structures. To preserve coherence, filters were placed between waking awareness and nocturnal experience. These filters functioned as seals. This blocking did not affect memory alone, but also suppressed the full activation of the human 12-strand crystic DNA, which was a deliberate intervention by negative entities and part of a long-term manipulation of human consciousness. They limited recall. They fragmented perception. They reduced multidimensional experience into abstract symbols that could be dismissed as imagination. Dreams became stories instead of journeys. Encounters became metaphors instead of meetings. Communication became nonsense instead of data. Yet the experience itself never stopped. Every night, consciousness exits the physical frame and enters shared non-physical layers. Some of these layers exist close to the physical realm and resemble altered versions of familiar environments. Others lie far beyond physical resemblance and operate purely through geometry, light, and relational awareness. Humans move through these layers instinctively, guided by resonance rather than navigation. Within these spaces, interaction occurs. Many of the presences encountered in dreams are not projections of the mind. They are not psychological constructs. They are relational intelligences connected to the individual through non-physical origin lines. They are often referred to as spiritual families, not in an emotional sense, but in an origin-based sense. Consciousness does not arise in isolation. It emerges from collective fields that predate physical incarnation. When a human enters a body, a portion of that larger field remains connected beyond physical boundaries. Dream states are the primary channel through which this connection remains active. Communication from these origin groups does not occur through spoken instruction. It occurs through experiential scenarios designed to adjust orientation, correct trajectory, or prepare awareness for upcoming changes. The mind later interprets these encounters as symbolic dreams because the language of direct knowing has no equivalent in waking cognition. A dream of being guided. A dream of being observed. A dream of returning to a place that does not exist on Earth. A dream of being trained, monitored, or tested. These are not fantasies. They are memory fragments. For much of human history, access to these memories was intentionally suppressed. Seals were implemented at the level of perception to prevent destabilization of the three-dimensional system. These seals did not block experience. They blocked integration. As long as the environment required strong identification with physical identity, recall of multidimensional activity remained limited. Dreams stayed fragmented. Lucidity was rare. Continuity was lost. This is now changing. The current period is defined by the loosening of these perceptual restrictions. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but steadily and irreversibly. The seals that once fragmented dream memory are dissolving as the human nervous system adapts to higher informational density. The dissolution of these seals also means that artificial blockages embedded within the crystic DNA are gradually losing effectiveness, allowing consciousness to regain access to its original perceptual capacities. As a result, dreams are becoming more vivid, longer, more coherent, more continuous. Many individuals report recurring locations, familiar presences, and ongoing narratives that unfold across multiple nights. This is not imagination intensifying. It is memory returning. Dreams begin to carry an emotional weight that lingers after waking. Not anxiety, not excitement, but recognition. A sense that something meaningful occurred without the need for explanation. Time within dreams begins to stretch. Entire lifetimes can unfold within minutes of sleep. This is not distortion. It is normal operation outside linear time. The increase in dream intensity is not a personal phenomenon. It is systemic. As collective conditions shift, the boundary between waking and non-physical perception thins. Dreams become the primary interface for integration because they allow exposure without destabilizing waking function. Many notice that dreams now arise earlier in the sleep cycle. They are no longer limited to deep REM phases. They appear during light sleep, naps, and near-waking states. This indicates that consciousness is no longer fully anchored to the physical frame, even while the body is partially alert. Sleep paralysis, once feared, is a symptom of this shift. It occurs when awareness returns before motor control reconnects. In this state, perception remains open to the non-physical environment while the body remains offline. The presences perceived in these moments are not hallucinations. They are residual perceptions from layers consciousness has not yet exited. Fear arises only when interpretation lags behind experience. Dreams also become instructional, not through direct teaching, but through repeated exposure to unfamiliar modes of being. Flying without effort, communicating without speech, existing without fixed form. These experiences are rehearsals, not fantasies. They reacquaint consciousness with its natural operating state beyond physical density. Spiritual families utilize dreams because they bypass resistance. The waking mind defends its identity. The sleeping mind does not. During sleep, awareness is receptive, neutral, and detached from social narratives. This allows precise recalibration without interference. Messages delivered in dreams are rarely verbal. They are encoded in environment, interaction, and sensation. Understanding arrives as familiarity rather than explanation. A feeling of having been somewhere important. A sense of having completed something. A quiet certainty that something has shifted. As seals dissolve, dream memory begins to bleed into waking awareness. At first not as clear images, but as subtle changes in orientation. Preferences shift. Reactions soften. Certain fears lose relevance without being addressed. This is not psychological processing. It is informational integration. The human mind was never designed to remain isolated within three-dimensional perception indefinitely. Dreaming has always been the release valve that maintained connection to higher dimensional reality. What is different now is that this valve is opening wider. Children often experience this more clearly because fewer seals have been reinforced. Their dreams are vivid, immersive, and difficult to describe. As conditioning increases, recall diminishes. Now that conditioning is weakening across all ages. Increased dream activity does not signal escape from physical life. It signals reintegration of fragmented perception. The physical world remains, but is no longer the sole reference point. Dreams reveal that identity is not bound to body. They demonstrate this nightly without explanation. You move, you act, you choose, you exist without physical form. This knowledge does not arrive as belief. It arrives as memory. As the seals dissolve further, dreams become less symbolic. Abstract imagery gives way to direct experience. Scenes stabilize. Characters return. Locations persist. This persistence indicates access to shared non-physical environments rather than isolated mental constructs. Many report dreams in which they meet the same beings repeatedly without recalling them in waking life. Recognition occurs within the dream itself. This is how relational continuity functions beyond physical memory. Upon waking, an emotional residue remains even as details fade. This residue is not meaningless. It is the imprint of contact. Dreams are not preparing humanity for something that will happen. They are reconnecting humanity with something that never stopped happening. The body sleeps. Consciousness travels. The mind forgets. Now the forgetting is ending. As integration continues, the distinction between dream perception and waking perception will soften further. Not through confusion, through familiarity. Dreams will no longer feel separate. They will feel like another room within the same structure. This requires no effort. No belief, no practice. It is a biological and perceptual adaptation already in progress. Dreams are not messages from the future. They are communications from parallel layers of the present. They are not illusions. They are not metaphors. They are experiences occurring exactly where consciousness goes when the body no longer needs it. If you understand this, welcome to the club.